right, let's talk forwards. Nick, who do you like?
Well, I'm going to stay in that Toronto game, and I'm going to assume that Fred VanVleet is not playing. That situation has been really strange, where he basically admitted, like, yeah, my knee doesn't feel great, and then tried playing through it, and then we don't see him play last night. Of course, they're on the second half of a back-to-back, and, other than Malachi Flynn, the guy who really benefited last night at least was Scottie Barnes. He played 34 minutes, 28 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 steals, and 1 block. So obviously the defensive stats, doing a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of his final fantasy output. You can't necessarily count on 5 steals again, but he is a guy that not only when Fred VanVleet is out, but OG Anunoby also going to miss time with a broken finger. Scottie Barnes has been the number one beneficiary all season when either of those guys miss time. He can handle the ball better than virtually everybody else. And, with the exception of last night, Nick Nurse has been really hesitant to trust guys like Delano Banton and Malachi Flynn this season, and instead has kind of turned over a lot of that responsibility to Scottie Barnes. So getting him at 6,000, I think, is a really big-time bargain. I think I would stay away from Pascal Siakam. He's just been in a terrible slump these last few games. I think I'm going to stay away from LeBron at forward as well. I think we're like 2 to 3 more embarrassing losses away from LeBron just shutting this thing down. He was doing more like grabbing at his knee than I've ever seen in that last game against the Pelicans. I just don't trust that situation right now.
Fun fact from producer Slade, Scottie Barnes over 8.5 assists and rebounds was a top 5 money-making prop on DK last night. So just something fun to note. Ryan, which forward should you build around?
I love the Scottie Barnes pick. I had that, but I also have Kyle Kuzma here if you're willing to pay up for him. $9,200 versus Detroit tonight, and Detroit stinks. This whole Wizards trade with Porzingis is still out, so Kuzma literally does everything for them. The last 2 games after All-Star break, 63 and 63 DraftKings points. He's played 46 minutes in the first and then 39 minutes in the second, so he's out there all the time, does everything for the Wizards, and he's on a heater.
All right, Garion, where are you going?
So I'm going to zag on the Raptors. I think that they're going to be a place where, as we've already seen tonight, people are going to want to use Malachi Flynn. I think that's very reasonable. He's so cheap, and he's probably going to play 35 minutes again. It's hard to say I don't like Scottie Barnes. I mean, he's in that mid-tier, only 6K. But I think it was telling that post-game Nick Nurse was asked, like, wow, what a game by Scottie Barnes. What'd you think of it? He said, we didn't run a single play for Scottie Barnes. He had 8 of his 12 made field goals on offensive rebound putbacks. I just, between that and the steals and the blocks, I just don't know how sustainable that sort of game is night to night. I think this is the night you do go back to Pascal Siakam. I think the salary has dropped so far. I mean, this was someone who was up above $10,000 on a couple slates prior to the All-Star break. And the reasoning for that was he had a 9-game stretch from January 29th to February 12th, where he was averaging 53 DraftKings points per game. He is the point guard when Fred VanVleet is not playing. And, he's shooting 25% from the field since the All-Star break. Not great. But he's also been dealing with an illness in that span of time. I just think at a certain point, the shots have to start falling for Siakam. He's got such a high ceiling, especially when VanVleet isn't playing, especially going up against a Nets team that's allowing over 120 points per 100 possessions across their last 5 games. I just think you bank on the upside here. You realize that people are going to be gravitating so heavily towards Scottie Barnes that you're going to get Siakam's ceiling at a very low ownership number tonight.